One day you're sitting at the news desk of America's most watched cable news show, talking to millions of people watching and making a lot of money. The next day, you're gone without anyone saying goodbye. No farewell, no reason. Why? Just one cold sentence from Fox News saying they had split up with Kimberly Guilfoyle. For someone new who built her job on being heard, the quiet was really loud. What could make a TV station desperate enough to pay over $4 million just to make someone go away? The truth behind Kimberly Guilfoyle's shock exit from Fox News shows a darker side of TV power and shows how quickly a job can fall apart when the cameras stop rolling. Before we talk about what really happened behind those Fox News doors, you need to understand just how far up Kimberly Guilfoyle had climbed, because the higher you go up, the harder you fall down. San Francisco, 1969. A little girl loses her mom to a blood disease at age 11, and that sad thing becomes the power that would drive her for many years. Kimberly Guilfoyle wasn't born rich. She was made strong by sadness. That early loss taught her something most people never learn. Favor learned through leaving you love can disappear in a second. Her dad, a man from Ireland, worked building things, and her Puerto Rican mom had built a small life in their neighborhood. But when cancer took her mom, young Kimberly learned that being safe was just pretend. This learning would shape every choice she made for the rest of her life. She turned that fear into wanting success, fighting her way through law school while most kids her age were trying to figure out what they wanted to be on. They grew up. The courtroom became her first stage. As someone who put bad people in jail in Los Angeles, then later in San Francisco, she learned something special: the ability to make hard cases feel personal. She didn't just argue cases. She told stories that juries couldn't ignore. But here's where most people get story wrong. They think her TV job was some smart move, a planned switch from law to TV. The truth is much more interesting. In 2000, when she first stepped in front of a camera as a legal expert, she was just trying to pay her bills. Her marriage to Gavin Newsom was ending. Her law job had reached the top, and she needed a new direction. What nobody expected was how natural she looked on TV. While other law experts sounded like they were reading from school books, Kimberly spoke like she was talking to a friend. She could break down the hardest legal fights into words your grandma could understand. And she did it with confidence that made watchers trust her completely. By 2004, Court TV had given her a regular spot on both sides. This wasn't some polite legal talk. This was TV as a fighting sport. And Kimberly was a natural fighter. She could argue either side of a case with a quell passion, a skill that would help her well in the political fights to come. But it was Fox News that realized everything. When they called in 2006, Kimberly knew this was her chance at big time. Her rise at Fox was super fast. Within 5 years, she had gotten the best prize, a special spot on the 5. The format was perfect for her skills. She wasn't just giving legal advice anymore. She was jumping into heated political fights, giving sharp thoughts on everything from foreign policy to cultural issues. By the mid-2010s, Kimberly Guilfoyle had done something most TV people can only dream of. She had become necessary. Her salary showed her value a lot of money, the kind of money that comes with serious power and serious expectations. She was no longer just a Fox News host. She was her own brand. But success on TV is like acne fat, cuts both ways. The higher your profile, the more people watch you closely. And in Kimberly's case, someone very close to her was watching very carefully. Someone knew who was about to change everything. July 2018 started like any other month for Kimberly Guilfoyle. She was at the top of her game, co-hosting the 5 for Millions of watchers, getting respect from coworkers and fear from political enemies. But then something happened thought would send shockwaves through the TV world, and the official story McKesno sends it all. Fox News put out a statement that was as short as it was shocking, one sentence saying they had split ways with her. Noriason why? No goodbye tribute. Not thank you for her years of work. For a woman who had spent over 10 years building Fox's afternoon show Cinto, a ratings winner. The silence was really loud. If you've been following TV news for any amount of time, you'll know that big-name departures don't thrappen this way. When Bill O'Reilly left Fox, even in shame, there were headlines and analysis pieces. When Megyn Kelly left for NBC, it was a media circus. But Kimberly Guilfoyle just as sappered. The difference was clear and telling. O'Reilly got a goodbye segment talking about his good work despite the scandals. Kelly got public statements wishing her well. Guilfoyle got a company press release that read like a firing notice. The official story was neat and tidy. Kimberly had decided to leave TV to look for opportunities in politics, specifically to work on President Trump's 2020 campaign. On paper, it sounded logical. She had always been politically active. She had connections in Republican circles and campaign. Work offered the kind of high-profile platform she wanted. But here's what didn't make sense. Timing, process, and past examples. First, the timing was weird. July 2018 was marathon 2 years before the 2020 election. Major campaign. Jobs usually don't show up that far ahead. Second, the process was never seen before. Fox people of Kimberly's importance don't just disappear overnight. Third, when had Fox ever been so eager to lose off their biggest stars without any public celebration? The network had fought to keep far less valuable people in the past. The willingness to let Guilfoyle go so easily suggested some thingles was driving the decision. Within days, the rumors started flying. TVinsiders began whispering about internal and behind-the-scenes issues. But maybe the most telling detail was what didn't happen. Kimberly, who had built her job on being outspoken, barely talked about her exit. For someone new who had never run away from controversy, this sudden unwillingness to discuss her departure was a huge red flag. Her social media posts became generic and rare. Her public statements were short and carefully written. The speed of her move to political work was equally suspicious. Within weeks, Kimberly was showing up at Trump rallies, raising money for Republican candidates, and throwing herself into campaign activities with a strength that seemed almost desperate. It was as if she was trying to move so fast that no one would have time to ask uncomfortable questions. Meanwhile, Fox News moved on like a press surgery. The five continued, without missing a beat. There were no nostalgic videos, no mentions of her contributions to the network's success. No recognition that one of their biggest stars had simply vanished. For loyal watchers, this erasing was jarring. One day, they were watching Kimberly deliver her trademark passionate techmentee, and the next day she was simply gone. The lack of explanation left an empty space that guessing quickly filled, but the network offered no source. What none of us knew was that while Kimberly was making public appearances and building her new political career, a very different story was being written in corporate boardrooms and legal offices. A story that would eventually come out and show just how far Fox News was willing to go to make certain stories disappear. For 2 years, the real reason behind Kimberly Guilfoyle's departure stayed hidden behind corporate secrecy agreements and carefully managed public relations. Then in October 2020, New Yorker published an investigative piece that broke the carefully built narrative and revealed the truth. So disturbing that it changed everything we thought we knew about her exit. Festery began with a young woman who had taken what seemed like a dream job, working as an assistant to one of Fox News's biggest stars. What she got instead was a nightmare that would haunt her for years. According to the New Yorker's report, This assistant had filed a secret 42-page complaint, Kimberly Guilfoyle, in November 2018. Months after Kimberly had already left the network, the timing was important. It meant Fox News had been dealing with serious internal allegations while publicly saying thought her departure was voluntary and friendly. The allegations, detailed in Thought's complaint, were shocking in their scope and disturbing in how specific they were. According to source familiar with the complaint, the assistant alleged that Guilfoyle had put her through systematic workplace abuse that went far beyond anything that could be considered normal professional behavior. This wasn't just about teen-appropriate comments or occasional boundary crossing. The allegations painted a picture of someone who used her position of power to create a hostile work environment that crossed every possible boundary of professional conduct. The assistant alleged that she was frequently required to work at Guilfoyle's New York apartment, while the Fox host showed herself naked, creating a situation where the young woman felt trapped and uncomfortable, but unable to leave without risking her job. Even more disturbing were allegations that Guilfoyle would show her assistant photographs of male private parts from men she had been involved with. These weren't accidental limbs. They were deliberate actions, designed to embarrass and control. The assistant also alleged that Guilfoyle spoke constantly about her sex life, forcing her employee to listen to graphic details that had nothing to do with worth of establishing dominance. The complaint alleged that Guilfoyle demanded physical contact, crossing the line from verbal harassment to physical demands. The pattern of alleged behavior extended beyond sexual harassment into broader workplace abuse. The complaint alleged that Guilfoyle encouraged her assistant to sleep with wealthy and powerful men, essentially asking her to sell her body for professional advancement. She allegedly demanded that her assistant share rooms during business trips, eliminating any possibility of privacy or professional boundaries. These weren't isolated incidents. The allegations described a consistent pattern of degrading, objectifying, and inappropriate behavior that made the assistant's job unbearably violated every standard of professional conduct. What makes this story even more disturbing is how the assistant tried to handle the issue. She initially attempted to address the issues through informal channels, hoping that a conversation could resolve the problems. She wasn't looking to destroy onions career. She just wanted to do her job without being subjected to treatment that no employee should endure. When informal approaches failed, she tried working within the system, hoping that Fox News' human resources department could address the situation professionally. But when the assistant finally decided she had to take formal action, things allegedly got worse. According to the New Yorker's reporting, Guilfoyle allegedly tried to interfere with the investigation and even tried to pay off the assistant to prevent her from revealing details to the lawyers Fox News had hired. The investigation thought followed was thorough and expensive. Fox News hired an outside law firm to handle the situation, bringing in experts who specialized in workplace harassment cases. Throughout this entire process, which lasted months, the public had no idea what was happening. While Fox was dealing with serious internal allegations, they kept up the lie that Kimberly's departure had been voluntary. The settlement that Fox News reached wasn't just big, it was huge. According to multiplayer reports, the network paid the assistant more than $4 million to resolve the matter. $4 million. To put that in perspective, that's more than most Americans will earn in their entire working lives. Paid to resolve a single workless complaint. This wasn't a small settlement to make someone go away. This was the kind of money that suggests Fox News took these allegations very seriously and wanted to make sure the matter would never become public. The payment came with strict secrecy agreements that prevented the assistant from ever discussing the allegations, the investigation, or the settlement. The size of the settlement raised uncomfortable questions about what Fox News executives believed had actually happened. Companies don't pay millions of dollars to resolve silly complaints. This was money paid to be complete silence about allegations. That network clearly considered dama jinju na to justify an enormous financial payout. Meanwhile, Kimberly was building an entirely new career in political active. Her transition to Trump's campaign wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal. She was dating Donald Trump Jr., which gave her access to the highest levels of Republican politics and a platform that rivaled her TV career in terms of influence and visibility. But here's what's fascinating. For someone who had built their reputation on being outspoken and confrontational, she became remarkably quiet about one specific topic. In interviews, at rallies, during public appearances, Kimberly would discuss almost anything except her departure from Fox News. When reporters asked about her exit, her answers were carefully written and suspiciously short. She would mention her desire to work in politics, her excitement about new challenges, her gratitude for her time at Fox, but she never provided tales, never explained the timing, never addressed the sudden nature of her departure. For someone who had never run away from controversy, this sudden unwillingness to discuss her own professional history was telling. It suggested that there were aspects of her departure that couldn't be addressed publicly without significant risk. The silence served multiple purposes. It allowed her to control the story around her career transition, protected her new relationships in Republican politics, and most importantly, it protected Fox News. Despite paying millions to settle serious allegations, the network was able to move forward without significant public scrutiny. Fox News handled the entire situation with surgical precision. They removed a potentially problematic personality paid to ensure silence, and continued their programming without interruption. The 5 remained a ratings success, and the network avoided the kind of extended scandal that had plagued them in previous years. For the assistant, the settlement meant financial security but also permanent silence. She had come forward with serious allegations about workplace abuse, and while she received substantial compensation, she could never tell her story publicly. When the New Yorker story finally broke in 2020, it revealed not just what had allegedly happened, but how far powerful institutions will go to protect their reputations and how much money they're willing to spend to buy silence. Kimberly's representatives issued strong denials, and she eventually stated publicly that she had never engaged in workplace misconduct of any kind. Even after the story became public, Kimberly continued to maintain her silence about the specifics. She denied the allegations broadly, but she didn't engage with the details, didn't provide alternative explanations for her departure, didn't address why Fox News would pay millions to settle silly claims. For years after the New Yorker expos, Kimberly Guilfoyle maintained her public persona with remarkably discipline. She appeared at rallies, raised millions for Republican candidates, and built a new identity as a political power broker. But beneath surface, something else was happening. At 55, in a rare moment of unguarded honesty that broke through years of carefully managed public statements, Kimberly finally revealed the true cost of her departure from Fox News. In a conversation that caught even seasoned political observers off guard, she made an admission that shocked everyone who heard it. The scandal had ruined her. The words carried more weight than any legal brief, corporate testament, or public denial. For someone who had spent her entire career projecting strength, control, and unshakable confidence, this admission of vulnerability was unprecedented. She described losing everything she had worked for in a matter of days. No explanation, no defense. Just erasing 20 years of building a career, building relationships, building trust with audiences, and it was all gone overnight. This wasn't the confident, combative Kimberly that audiences knew from TV or political rallies. This was someone dealing with the reality that a single allegation, regardless of whether it was true, had to erase decades of professionalism. EHN. EHN2, or tu momosio, hollow-asting color. Combative Kimberly that audience qualos, may see. Me may tea, my nay court set. You see, we see it. We see it. We see it, precate. By its court, it sees, by my seed I lee. I be and dusod. You can do so a quad by unwin sepa it's accusits it susa me set me sit it sit it sly as how we reset it cut it's it get I bist to it capit at the adits gets the case done to let it sick to it capat the set they let's it that's less let's wait this oh this in an instant. She talked about how people act like you can just move on, like you can rewrite your own story and make everyone forget. But they didn't forget. They never do. E-very introduction includes a reference to the controversy. Every profile mentions the allegations. Every success is qualified with phrases like, despite her past rubles. The admission revealed something that all her political sex, all her fundraising gatchians, all her high-profile relationships had failed to hide. This scandal had left deep psychological scars that no amount of external validation could heal. She described the transformation from being someone people look up to, someone people respect, to a numb they whisper about. It wasn't just losing a job. It was losing an identity. When you've built your whole sense of self around professional achievement, around being seen as successful and competent, losing that foundation changes everything. She reflected on giving Fox News everything. Her energy, her ideas, her loyalty. She helped build shows, brought in viewers, made the money, and the moment it became inconvenient, the moment someone made dealings, she was gone. No goodbyes, no second chances, no opportunity to defend herself. Just silence. The bitterness was unmistakable, revealing Grissom that years of political sex hadn't been able to diminish, despite building a new career. Despite my night, despite remaining in Thepi Blick Eye, she had never truly escaped a shadow of her. Fox News departure. Perhaps the most revealing part of her admission was what it said about the nature of power in the TV industry. For all her success, for all her influence, for all her big salary, she had discovered that it could all disappear overnight, based on allegations that might never be proven or disproven in any meaningful way. She described how that silence had been her greatest burden. It had followed her through every stage of her reinvention. Every public appearance, every headline refused to let the story die. You can't really move forward when part of you is always looking back, always wondering what people know or think they know. The admission also revealed the possible position that scandal creates for public figures. Deny to strong-lined, you look guilty. Stay quiet and people assume the worst. Try to move on and you're accused of avoiding responsibility. There's no path that leads to complete vindication or total redemption. She acknowledged that she was still standing, that she had built something new, found new purpose, new love, new ways. To make a difference, Booch would never be the same person she was before this happened. Part of her died in that silence, and no amount of success could bring it back. Her reflection poses a haunting question that extends far beyond her specific situation. If one moment on allegation, one decision could